Tune in to Hope FM's RPH radio reading programs on Wednesdays 10am and 9pm, featuring news articles from the
local Esperance Weekender.
That's 10am and 9pm Wednesdays on 103.9. Proudly supported by the Community Broadcasting Foundation.
Esperance Weekender, Friday, 24th of November, 2023, page 1 and 2. Photo by Sarsby Martin. Balmy Nights. Balmy Nights is back. After an open night party at Hopetown's Youth and Art Space tonight, visiting and local artists move to Esperance tomorrow for the season's first Music Mini-Fest at the Cannery Art Centre, with 3 local acts and 3 out-of-towners tomorrow night. Sunday spin-off events include the family event Balmy Brunch at the Esperance Museum Village, and later in the day, Balmy Beats at Lucky Bay Brewery. And on page 2, photo of the week. Crystal Gregory sent us this picture of Alexander Bay in Esperance. She had previously won Photo of the Month earlier this year for her photo of Stockyards Beach, and is in the running again this time for a $100 voucher from Retrovision. Photo of the Month competition. Send your photos to editor@esperanceweekender.com.au to be in the running to win the Photo of the Month. If your photo gets printed in the paper, we at the Esperance Weekender will choose the best one for the month, and you will win a $100 voucher from Retrovision Esperance to spend in their homeware section. This includes dinner sets, wine glasses, pots and pans, cheese boards, candles, etc. No electrical items. Retrovision, 106 Dempster Street, 0890 712 446.
Esperance Weekender, Friday the 24th of November 2023, page 3, news. Marine Park Beermongering by Jeff Vivian, read by Monica. A state government spokesperson has accused Shadow WA Fisheries Minister Colin de Grasser of needless fear-mongering about the South Coast Marine Park planning process. Mr de Grasser's comments are inflammatory and premature speculation based on outdated information and is unhelpful, she said. She was referring to a statement Mr de Grasser issued after obtaining an internal government document under Freedom of Information law. It is a memo from an unnamed fisheries DPIRD official to the Department of Biodiversity, Conservation and Attractions, which is leading the planning process. Noting inadequate time was provided for DPIRD to properly analyse and provide well-considered feedback on a marine park of such size and complexity, this rushed approach poses serious risks to the planning and outcomes of the South Coast Marine Park, the memo says. Based on the draft zoning scheme, it does not appear the DBCA has adopted a pragmatic approach to the zoning of the proposed South Coast Marine Park. The memo goes on to say the current draft zoning scheme would likely result in the loss of several South Coast fisheries and impact on the livelihoods of numerous fishers. It is DPIRD's view that these impacts are not in the community's best interests and that the impacts can be largely avoided or minimised if DBCA are genuinely serious about doing that in designing the zoning scheme for the South Coast Marine Park, the document says. Despite overwhelming feedback and agreement on recommendations to specific areas across numerous stakeholder groups, their recommendations have not been taken on board and changes made to candidate areas. Mr de Grasser said these statements were not ambiguous and go to the heart of describing a fundamentally flawed process. It will be very telling if the Cook Labor government decides to release the draft zoning scheme in the form that drew so much criticism from DPIRD, as well as the Goldfields Esperance Development Commission, Shire of Esperance, WA Fishing Industry Council and members of the Community Reference Committee, he said. What it will show is that the Cook Labor government is continuing the McGowan Labor government's legacy and is utterly incapable of listening and certainly incapable of undertaking consultation in good faith. It will also show a fisheries minister who is complicit in the whole charade, giving the extraordinary advice provided by his own department. However, the state government spokesperson said the Department of Primary Industries and Regional Development had provided advice and input to the planning process for the South Coast Marine Park, which will be reflected in the draft zoning scheme. This includes advice provided to the Community Reference Committee, sector advisory groups, and the Department of Biodiversity Conservation and Attractions, she said. All Western Australians will have ample opportunity to comment on the South Coast Marine Park Draft Management Plan, which will include a proposed zoning scheme, when it's released for a 4-month public comment period. This is an extension of the 3-month public comment period previously promised. More on page 7. Also on page 3, e-scooters on the rise by a staff reporter. Around 3.6 million e-scooter riders contributed $728 million to Australia's economy in 2022, a new study says. The study highlighted the growing strength of the micro-mobility industry conducted on Australia's cycling and e-scooter economy. Esperance shared micromobility provider Beam said it contributed data from its shared micromobility operations across the country towards the report. A Beam spokesperson said this data revealed the significant positive economic, social and environmental benefits of cycling and e-scooters in Australia. Tom Cooper of Beam said the data showed e-scooter popularity could surpass that of bicycles in the coming years, especially as governments continue to legislate for their use across the country. In addition to direct economic contribution, Beam's data also reinforces the contribution of e-scooters to local businesses, with 6 trips out of 10 on a Beam resulting in a purchase at a local business, he said. There's a photo with this article provided by Prathamesh Deshpande. The caption underneath reads, Beam Esperance representative Connor Davies. Also on page 3, Don't Miss the Bus by a staff reporter. Parents in outlying areas are urged to register their children for a school bus service if they will need it for the first time next year. A Public Transport Authority spokesman said children who are starting school for the first time, changing schools or changing their home address need to have their details registered with SBS before they can use the bus. Children who already use an orange school bus and are not changing their arrangements do not need to re-register, he said. Parents who leave it too late to register their child may find that we can't service their stop until later in the term, when routes and timetables are reviewed and, if necessary, amended. Parents may complete an application online at www.schoolbuses.wa.gov.au.
Esperance Weekender, 24th of November 2023, page 5 in News, read by Janelle. There are 3 articles, and the first is Newport Road Upgrades, and it's written by a staff reporter. The WA government is spending $12.2 million in road upgrades to improve safety, access and efficiency at Esperance Port. The multi-million-dollar investment will deliver stages 2 and 3 of the Port Roads Improvement Program, a 3-year staged program of works to renew essential road infrastructure. Stage 1 works are already underway, comprising a $7.4 million upgrade to Hughes Road, the sole heavy vehicle access road into the Port of Esperance. Future works will now include the reconstruction of degraded areas of road pavement on existing heavy vehicle roads within the port, as well as changes to the existing port access intersection layout to accommodate the significant growth in B-triple road trains accessing the port. WA Ports Minister David Michael said complete heavy vehicles would have easier port access and a more streamlined route that avoided unsafe interactions and challenging turning circles. The Port of Esperance handled 13.6 million tonnes of freight in 2022-23, with almost half, 44%, of that trade transported by road. More than 300,000 truck movements are recorded at the port each year, the majority carrying non-iron ore trade, including grain, spodumene, nickel, fertiliser and sulphur. The Port of Esperance is the only deepwater port in the southern region and one of only 2 container crane ports in the state. As the third largest spodumene lithium port in the world and the region's second largest employer, it is a key contributor to Western Australia's economic prosperity. Mr Michael said as almost all of the Port of Esperance's non-iron ore trade was transported by road, the port continued to diversify beyond its traditional iron ore base, making quality roads essential. This investment prioritises the safety of our road users and port workers, while also positioning the Port of Esperance to accommodate trade growth, he said. Shelley Payne MLC said the program of essential infrastructure upgrades would help foster economic growth, ensure safe port operations and enhance future trade pathways. And the next article on page 5 in News is Big New Cranes, and it's written by staff reporter. Bedford Harbour Engineering has scored a $235,000 grant to help install overhead cranes at its new Shark Lake facility. In announcing the grant, WA Regional Development Minister Don Punch said it would support local manufacturing of agriculture products, such as larger silos, encouraging innovation and new product development in the region. Bedford Harbour Managing Director Ryan Joyce said the business was established 13 years ago from a farm shed with one part-time employee. Since this time, we have grown to a large-scale manufacturing and fabrication company, now being able to take the next step into a custom-build facility, he said. The REDS's grant will give us the capacity to increase the size of our current production and manufacture new products such as grain silos and tipper trailers. With the new cranes, there will also be increased productivity, efficiency and effectiveness, allowing for heavy parts to be lifted and moved without compromising safety. It is one of 3 successful grants for Goldfields Esperance businesses in the state government's Round 6 RED grant program, administered by the Goldfields Esperance Development Corporation. GEDC chairperson Terence Winner said the project would further diversify the agriculture industry by enabling locally based product development and manufacturing. The new cranes will allow for increased manufacturing capacity, particularly for larger products and equipment, he said. Employees will be supported with training to develop new skills and obtain crane licences to fill skills shortages in the region. And the last article on page 5 in News is Southern Ports Award, and it's written by a staff reporter. Southern Ports received the coveted Port of the Year award at the 2023 Australian Shipping and Maritime Industry Awards last week. The authority runs Esperance Port. Southern Ports Chief Executive Keith Wilkes said he was proud to see the Western Australian Regional Port Authority recognised on a national stage. We may not be the biggest port authority or facilitate the most trade across the country, but we certainly have grown and transformed our role and contribution to the sector, the regions we operate in and the state's economy, he said. We've completely transformed ourselves with a package of strategic, innovative projects and reforms, many implemented concurrently, that have not only achieved outstanding results across all measures, but positioned us for an even brighter future. Mr Wilkes said last year they broke 16 trade records across the 3 ports of Albany, Bunbury and Esperance, which together facilitated $49 billion in trade. When you compare our organisation to 5 years ago, we're almost unrecognisable, he said. Our workforce has grown by 55%, our training investment in our people has increased 3-fold, and we now operate the largest and 3rd largest lithium export ports in the world. We're also undertaking an ambitious $62 million capital works program across our ports, the largest in our history, and a $12 million technology program targeting full digitisation by 2025. At the same event, Esperance Marine pilot Callum McCaddy won the Young Achiever Award, recognising his dedication and career as one of the youngest marine pilots across Australia. Southern Ports was also a finalist in the Environmental Award for its work to continuously improve environmental practices at its port of Esperance. The government-owned trading enterprise is one of 5 port authorities in Western Australia. The photo with this article is captioned Esperance Marine Pilot Callum McCaddy, and that photo was courtesy of Southern Ports. Apologies for any mispronunciations.
If you've just tuned in to 103.9 Hope FM, you're listening to our RPH Radio Reading Hour.
This program is produced with the support of the Community Broadcasting Foundation.
Esperance Weekender, Friday the 24th of November 2023, page 8, Community, Wongatha Kids Share Culture, by Jeff Vivian, read by Monica. Wongatha CAPS invited 150 students from 6 other local schools to visit their Gibson campus for a day of cultural sharing late last month. Boarding supervisor and Kookajar man Matt Taylor said while NAIDOC was usually celebrated earlier in the year, it was better for their school's program. We had introduction and welcome by Elder Wujari Elder Annie Dab, and we rotated them through stations with teachers and students acting as cultural leads in each program, he said. They were all rotations for 30 minutes each. Each would break up into their schools and go to each rotation. We did spear throwing in one station, bush food tasting, and the bush tucker train. This was the train usually seen on the Esperance foreshore, used to transport children to various cultural stations. We had wall climbing and we had traditional symbols, including face painting and looking at Aboriginal symbols and motifs, Mr. Taylor said. And we had a Guniyandi and Walmajari language station and Aboriginal decorative art. Teacher Terry Buckley said about 50 Wongatha CAPS students were involved in running these activities. We had senior students take each class around to each activity, he said. It's good for our students to help with communication skills and working together as a team and being very proud of their culture. Mr. Buckley said the school's boarders included a good cohort from Yiyili community and the Fitzroy River Valley in the central Kimberley, with students fluent in their own languages, such as Guniyandi senior boy LeBron McCall. The guest students included children from Our Lady's Star of the Sea and Esperance Christian, Cascades, Condinup, Salmon Gums, Munglanup and Scadden primary schools. There are some photos with this article provided by Wongatha CAPS. The caption under the first photo reads, "A wall climbing activity." The caption under the next photo reads, Tylisha Carlton, and the caption under the last photo reads, Ewan Laurel, Sebastian Moko, Ephraim Constan and Wayne Hughes.
Esperance Weekender, 24th of November 2023, page 8. Esperance Aged Care Facility, Quality Care Together, a message from the new chair. It's a pleasure to be writing my first message to the Esperance community as the new chair of the EACF board. I'd like to extend my thanks to Tony Hawkins and Jim Gray, who both retired from the board at our AGM. Their contributions will be greatly missed. I'd also like to welcome Neil Wandel to the board, who brings a wealth of business and community experience with him. I look forward to working with the board as we continue to serve our residents and the broader community. This month we welcomed our final contingent of PALM scheme staff, this time from Vanuatu. We now have 29 personal care workers from the PALM scheme at the facility, who have all either completed or are studying towards their Certificate 3 in Aged Care. All these employees have settled in well, and with our workforce numbers having increased and stabilised, we look forward to welcoming more residents into the facility. Based on advice from the Department of Health, we have removed the requirement for all visitors to present a negative rapid antigen test prior to entering the facility, but visitors are still required to wear masks. Going into December and January, we ask everyone to take a common sense approach when visiting the facility, such as staying at home if you are unwell. Reports of COVID-19 are rising across the state, and we hope to see our residents and staff safely through this new wave. Please contact the facility for the latest entry requirements. Mick Curnow, Chairperson. Donate your bike to us. Do you have a bike that's not getting any use? We are looking for bikes for our palm workers to use and would be grateful for your donation. EACF vacancies, work for us, above award wages. A rewarding workplace where you can make a real difference to lives. We are always looking for good people to join our team. Registered nurses, enrolled nurses, homemakers 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. to help with meal preparation and serving, cleaner, personal care workers, day and night shifts available. Inquiries 0890723222, hrm@eacf.org.au, or visit www.eacf.org.au/careers. Melbourne Cup. Our activities team put on another fabulous Melbourne Cup luncheon, which our residents thoroughly enjoyed. Dot Andre, Barbie Gove, Heather Dixon, and Mabel Gibbs were a few residents who dressed up and got into the spirit.
If you've just tuned in to 103.9 Hope FM, you're listening to our RPH Radio Reading Hour.
This program is produced with the support of the Community Broadcasting Foundation.
Esperance Weekender 24th of November 2023, page 9 in Community News, read by Janelle. And there are two articles, and the first is Heritage Comes Alive, and it's written by Jeff Vivian. It was intended as a moon exploration vehicle in the 1960s, but NASA chose not to purchase any. Instead, about 1,000 units of the three-wheel all-terrain vehicle called the Nat were made in New Zealand and used for farm work, hunting and fishing. The Nat is one of the many fascinating, out-of-date machines the Esperance Mechanical Restoration Group keeps and maintains for posterity. Everyone is invited to the group's 13th Annual Collectors Fair this Sunday for a family outing. EMRG has a large display of items owned by the club and by members. Beside machinery, visitors are invited to enjoy displays, collections and demonstrations of rope making, soap making, oyster mushroom, bonsai and the spinning weaving group. Market stalls and car boot sales are welcome, and food will be available in the form of a hamburger and sausage sizzle, Devonshire teas and donuts. Pot plants will be on sale, and bargain hunters are invited to peruse white elephant treasures to collectibles plus exotic junk art. Entry by donation from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m, Sunday, November 26 at the McLean Road Chadwick Club premises. And with this article there are two photos, and the first one is captioned Lynn Palethorpe, Liz Pleckus and Graham Palethorpe with a roll mill or grista used to make flour. And the second photo is of David Ovens with a Nat, a two-stroke powered vehicle intended as a moon exploration prototype. And those photos were courtesy of Jeff Vivian. And the second article on page 9 in Community News is Bridge Browsings, and it's written by Helen Johnston. Advent, a word not too familiar these days. The dictionary will inform us of either an arrival or coming. Traditionalists will recall it is the period of 4 weeks prior to Christmas. Yet here we are. Already our senses are being teased, tantalised by an expectancy of purchasing the elusive gift for another. It's Christmas. I must make the effort, or at least consider the desire to please. Christmas functions are rapidly taking up spaces in the diary. Our Bridge Club Christmas gathering will be celebrating at the Senior Citizens Centre this coming Saturday, November 25. Preparations are in hand. Following the usual Saturday afternoon competition, enjoyment of Christmas fare will begin from 5:30 p.m. onwards. A buffet-style meal has always been a winner. We all look forward to our director Ian Lett's annual review of the club's efforts. Presentations according to his considered calculations are well received, especially who will earn the Promiscuity Award. It's not December, yet here we are, ahead of Advent, because it is an event. Bye for now. Stay calm amidst the hustle.
Esperance Weekender, Friday, 24th of November, 2023, page 10 and 11. Edge of the Bay Festival, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. Saturday, 2nd of December, 23, Esperance Youth Precinct. Free community event, your pull-out event guide. Community activities, all-day activities, market stalls, bouncy castles, giant games, kite display, pop-up eatery, vintage cars, laser tag, chill-out zone, local acoustic musicians at the acoustic stage. 8:30 a.m. Yacht Club Have a Go registration. 9 a.m. Yacht Club Have a Go session. 10 a.m. Yacht Club Have a Go session. 10 a.m. Join Waste Trail for free gift. 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Flower crown making. 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Play a round of squash. 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Born to Sparkle glittering. 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Spinning flowers, kite kinetics. 11 a.m. Yacht Club Have a Go session. 11 a.m. Junkadelic music workshop. 11 a.m. Decorate the Dunny youth mural. 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Photo booth. 1 p.m. Create sand art with Auntie Annie. 2 p.m. Junkadelic music workshop. 3:30 p.m. Pop-up bar opens. Live music. 4:45 p.m. Welcome to Country. 5 p.m. Official opening. 5:15 Lazy. 6 p.m. Battle of the Bay presentations. 6:15 p.m. Junkadelic. 7:30 p.m. Bottom of the Barrel. 9 p.m. Event close. Battle of the Bay. 9:30 a.m. BMX Comp Heats and Final. 10 a.m. Scoot Comp Heats and Final. 12:30 p.m. Skate Comp Heats. 3 p.m. Skate Comp Finals. 6 p.m. Battle of the Bay presentations. Win a BMX. Compete in any Battle of the Bay division and you'll go into the draw to win a giant GFR FW from Down to Earth. The lift out includes a map and the following zones are identified on it. Chill Out Zone, Battle of the Bay, Stage Area and Sand Art, Hope FM and Acoustic Stage, Pop-Up Bar, Licensed Area, Laser Tag, Information Stall, Community Activities, Play Zone, Food Stores, Coffee and Ice Cream, Obstacle Course and Bouncy Castle, Market Stalls, Vintage Cars Display, Squash Courts, Junkadelic Workshops. Thank you to our event sponsors, the Shire of Esperance, Esperance Civic Centre, Department of Local Government, Sport and Cultural Industries, Lottery West, Southern Ports, Horizon Power, Innertube Esperance, Soggy Bones, Sports Power, Down to Earth Adventure and Camping. So this is for the Edge of the Bay Festival, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. Saturday, the 2nd of December 23 at the Esperance Youth Precinct.
Esperance Weekender, 24th of November 2023, page 12 in Arts and Entertainment, read by Janelle. And the first article is Familiar Faces in the Museum and written by Jeff Vivian. Esperance Museum visitors last weekend were invited to sit and watch one of several flat-screen TVs dotted throughout the display of heritage materials, which collectively were called Cedar Futures. They all featured local people in the kind of long-form interviews familiar from ABC documentaries, with Esperance Identities, Annie Dabb, Christiane Smith, Janine Riggs, Carly Florison, Kat Walkerden, Katie White, Kyron Smithson, Megan McDowell and Sam Stalsevich. They were the work of Melbourne artist and futurist Anna Tequia. Produced during 2 long stays in Esperance, during her residency at the Cannery Arts Centre. It's basically a collection of stories, Taquia said. A big part of collection is what's on display here at the museum, which is 9 stories from really incredible community members who share their talents, their skills, their passions in ways that benefit people, not just themselves. One of the things that I was really struck by when I first came here was, and it showed up not just in terms of what people told me, but in what I could see community members actively doing. Katie Witt, who curated the exhibition, said Seeded Futures, now been sent to the Art Gallery of WA to comprise part of the exhibition Rural Utopias. This is described as a multi-year program of residencies and socially engaged art projects in regional and remote Western Australian communities. Organisers say the program focuses on the idea of rural utopias and includes 11 artists from across Australia. And the photo with this article is captioned, Anna Tikia, Katie Witt and Linda Horn opened the exhibition on Thursday, and the photo was courtesy of Jeff Vivian. And the second article on page 12 in Arts and Entertainment is Silence is Golden, and it's written by Jeff Vivian. The Bijou's annual season of one-act comedies from budding directors began last weekend. Kia Trincali directed the first of these, John Pasadino's Artists Anonymous, about 3 friends who get together weekly to eat takeaway food and write comedy scripts. The set was good, the actors engaging, and the situation full of promise. Early in the play, the familiar line, "It's all about timing," came up, and this was the actors' biggest foible. Although the script had some great jokes, the audience did not have enough time to get them before the next actor burst in with their own line. Hopefully, an extra rehearsal and a little work on 1 or 2 second pauses will see this production improve. Katrina McAleese, who has directed a couple of these already, is starting to hit her straps as a director with Bruce Kane's Prince Charming's Complaint. This is an outrageous farce about the fairy tale prince who keeps ending up with the wrong kind of woman. He has rescued Rapunzel, Snow White and the Sleeping Beauty in the expectation they would live happily ever after. Each in turn has left him. They are sitting together on a couch, comparing notes as Charming relates his woes to an excitable psychotherapist. Dale Johnson then presented his own new play, The Art of Making Up, and she absolutely nailed it. Trish, played by Kuma Marquis, had the audience in her pocket from the get-go. She came on stage, picked up a cup and saucer, and sat with her back to her partner. Everyone knew which way the play was going to go. She was giving him the silent treatment. In near monologue, her partner Martin, played by Julian Hockley, explained to the audience how their breakups and makeups usually went. He then attempted to find out what the problem was by coming up with one scenario after another, admitting how each might have looked wrong and explaining to her what had really happened. He was like the man who kept spinning his wheels when he's bogged in the sand, as Trish became more and more cross at each revelation. Finally, he realised his original mistake and the lights faded. While Hockley was adequate as a foil, the pure physicality of Marquis' performance defined the whole situation for the audience. After this, Rochelle Lee Steer's production of Jane and Jim Jeffries' farce, The Desperate Housewives of Shakespeare, was a bit of an anticlimax. Shakespeare's 5 queens, together in a room, were interviewed by a detective investigating a murder. There were plenty of references to both Shakespeare and pop culture of the past 5 decades, and enough of the audience got enough of the jokes to keep it entertaining and fun to watch. Finally, a word about the lighting. Chelsea Ryan Galloway's deft use of spotlights, filters and fades to highlight key parts of the dialogue enhanced the drama and comedic value of all 4 plays, and, like Marquis, she was punching well above her weight as an artist in a regional theatre. It is venues like this that give big talents their opportunities, and it is always a thrill to think you might be the first one to see them before they are discovered. There is still time to catch these plays. They are on tonight, and the season closes with the final performances tomorrow, both at 7 p.m. Well worth the money. And the photo with this article is captioned Huma Markawi and Julian Hockley in The Art of Making Up, and that photo was courtesy of Jeff Vivian, and my apologies for any mispronunciations.
Tune in to Hope FM's RPH radio reading programs on Wednesdays 10am and 9pm, featuring news articles from the
local Esperance Weekender.
That's 10am and 9pm Wednesdays on 103.9. Proudly supported by the Community Broadcasting Foundation.
Esperance Weekender, Friday the 24th of November 2023, page 14, Science and Nature, Fairy Turn Workshop, read by Monica. Bird lovers are invited to a free fairy tern conservation workshop in Esperance on Saturday, December the 2nd. Dr. Nick Dunlop and Alison Gowndry of the West Australian Seabird Conservation Network are presenting. Learn about fairy terns, their habitat preferences, and how to recognise the early signs of breeding, they say. Hear about our research and the ways you can get involved to help protect nesting fairy terns. Participants are asked to register by emailing fairytern@iinet.net.au ahead of the workshop at the CWA Hall, 10 James Street, Esperance, from 8:30am to 1pm Saturday, December the 2nd. Morning tea and lunch are provided. There is a photo provided with this article by Claire Greenwell. The caption underneath reads, "A fairy tern mother feeds her chick." Also on page 14, Popular Hackable Passwords by a staff reporter. New research by password manager NordPass shows many people who should know better were still using passwords that are easy prey for hackers in 2021. High-ranking business executives and company owners tend to use weak and easy-to-crack passwords, which significantly increases the chances of a large-scale data breach, the company website says. In 2021, the top 10 most popular passwords for Australia were password, 123456, 1234, Samantha's, QWERTY, 12345, Rodney B1, work, 123456789 and 123456788. Worldwide, the top 10 passwords for 2021 were password, 123456, 123456789, guest, QWERTY, 123456788, 111111, 12345, COL 123456 and 123123.
Esperance Weekender, Friday, 24th of November, 2023, page 15, Agriculture. Why Grow Vetch by Sarah Brown and read by Kathy. In October, the National Vetch breeder Stuart Nagel from the South Australian Research and Development Institute, SARDI, visited Western Australia. His trip highlighted the value of vetch and the potential for its ongoing development to drive profitable and sustainable broadacre farming systems in WA, including by reducing the risk of growing a legume. Mr. Nagel presented at the Pulse Association of the South East Field Day and AGM, and then was taken on a tour of farms using vetch and vetch trials by DPIRD's principal research scientist, Mark Seymour. It was an extremely valuable few days for me, and I believe local growers, to touch base with Stuart, who sees vetches all over Australia and is such a key person in developing new varieties for Australian growers, he said. I took Stuart to 3 of our DPIRD vetch trial sites at Whitnam Hills, Lake Grace and Merredin, so he got to see vetches from a relatively kind environment at Whitnam Hills through to tougher conditions at Merredin. The visit to Merredin highlighted how good vetches can perform in trying conditions. Western Australia's wheat belt is a harsh environment for legumes. Hostile soils and low rainfall often combine to produce variable growth. Vetches are one of the better adapted species to harsh conditions. Vetch seems to handle dry starts and variable soils as good or better than other legumes, and is particularly well suited to sowing in dry or variable conditions. In addition, it is a multi-purpose plant that can be used for grazing, grown as a brown or green manure, cut for hay, or harvested for grain. Given the wide end use, we are lucky there is a very widespread availability of different species and different varieties which fit most potential end uses. For example, for grain production, the common vetch varieties are chosen as they produce a more marketable product, and even within the common vetches, there are lines which flower very early, Studenica, through to quite late flowering lines like Morava. Growers in WA use vetch as a pasture. Mark and Simeon Roberts from Cascade have been using woolly pod vetch varieties as a pasture for nearly 20 years. They sow the woolly pod variety RM4 early in the year, often late February or March, which allows them to have multiple grazing times. Generally, vetch can be grazed from end of April through to mid-November when stubbles come online. Vetch sets up their cropping phase, and now their rotation is generally vetch, wheat, canola, wheat, barley, then back to vetch again. Using vetch as a pasture adds diversity and risk management to a cropping system, Mark Roberts says. It allows a portion of the crop program to have all nitrogen applied at planting, as there is surplus organic N to requirement, hence a very easy portion of the program to manage. The grazing in the system so far has also mitigated any mouse or snail control. The Roberts family have always been strong supporters of research and breeding. It's important that Stuart Nagel's vetch breeding program continues to be supported by GRDC and state governments, Mark Roberts said. We need access to new varieties that grow even better in lower rainfall areas, handle stress, and are less prone to foliar diseases such as chocolate spot. DPIRD's Mark Seymour also sees improved disease resistance as a key trait to try and improve in vetch. Particularly if you are not grazing your vetch, foliar diseases really take off in the dense, humid canopies that vetch can produce in late winter and spring, he said. You can try and manage diseases with fungicides, but it is hard to get the chemical into the canopy as the season progresses, so genetic resistance is required. Mark Roberts was recently visited by respected South Australian consultant Alan Mayfield, who was conducting a survey and review of vetches for GRDC. I am really keen to hear about the results of this review and hope that it provided guidance to GRDC on the excellent fit of vetches in our system and the importance of supporting the vetch breeding program, he said. Sarah Brown is A Sheep and Beef Executive Officer. The photo supplied is captioned. Cascade farmers Mark Walter and Mark Roberts inspecting a Roberts family vetch paddock with plant breeder Stuart Nagel.
If you've just tuned in to 103.9 Hope FM, you're listening to our RPH Radio Reading Hour.
Esperance Weekender, Friday, 24th of November, 2023, page 16, Death Notice. Jason Clay Searle, 13th of the 11th, 1976, to the 11th of the 11th, 2023. Loving and loved fiancé of Naomi, father of Khaleesi, stepdad of Cheyenne, Alicia, Ryan, Nate, Jaden, and Lockie, son of Kevin and Debbie, brother of Vanessa, Rob, Brett, Carly, and Simon, fun uncle of Jack, Campbell, Lily, Finn, and Darcy, king of the kids, rest easy. Funeral notice, Esperance Funeral Services, Searle, Jason Clay. A memorial service for the late Mr. Jason Searle will be held at the Esperance Bay Yacht Club on Monday, 27 November 2023, commencing at 2 p.m. A cremation will be held in accordance with his wishes. Esperance Funeral Services 0890713245 www.esperancefunerals.com.au AFDA. Esperance Weekender 24th of November 2023, page 17, Sport. Taekwondo Wrap. Esperance Taekwondo held a skills day to celebrate the end of the year on Sunday. It opened at 9:30 a.m. with the new 5 to 7 age class, followed by demos of pattern, games and sparring, along with a sausage sizzle. The photo by Elodie Farcine, Logan Richards and Charles Goldsmith. The other photos by Jeff Vivian. Raoul Kim, blue, and Phoenix Griffin, red, sparring for points. And the second article in Sport, Life Members Inaugurated, by Christine Torelli. The Esperance Squash Club inaugurated 2 new life members recently. The 2 very worthy recipients were Colin MacArthur and Deb Hoffrichter. To become a life member, club members need to have ticked off an extensive list of criteria. As a club, we are lucky enough to have had 5 nominees who were all eligible for life member status. MacArthur achievements have spanned over 30 years as a member of the Squash Club. They included fulfilling the club president's role for 4 years, vice president for 2 years, treasurer for 2, extensive involvement in numerous Busy Bees club renovations and coordinating events. He is a valued member of our club who continues to give the young ones a run for their money. Deb Hoffrichter has been a member of the Esperance Squash Club for over 15 years and in that time has contributed immensely to the running of the club. Her achievements include club president for 4 years, vice president 1 year, junior coaching for 3 years, Yellow Dot Ball Committee organiser, member of the WA Squash Board, and donations to club for events. We are so blessed as a club to have such amazing members who give so much of their time and effort to help the club be the best it can be. Congratulations to both of these worthy recipients. Christine Torelli is the Esperance Squash Club Secretary, and the photo supplied is of Deb Hoffrichter and Colin MacArthur.
Esperance Weekender 24th of November 2023, page 18 in Sport News, read by Janelle. There are 2 articles, and the first is Finalists Set, and it's written by a staff reporter. The 2 combatants for the 2023 Esperance Cricket Association T20 Grand Final, to be played at Newtown Oval tomorrow, have been set after the final round of matches were contested last Saturday. Starting the 3rd round at the bottom of the standings, Newtown gave themselves a gigantic chance to make the grand final with a 72-run demolition of the hosts' Ports in the first match of the day. The Demons players then settled into the club rooms in anticipation of the second match, where a Cascade Esperance victory would see both sides directly through to the grand final. A Coastal Warriors win, however, would mean the Newtown faithful would have to get their calculators out in the hope that Cascade Esperance did not take more than 6 wickets and have its batting total kept to fewer than 100 runs as well. Losing the toss and subsequently sent into bat, the Warriors compiled 5 for 117. Veteran opener John Bruchel, top scoring with a 30 not out, retired after facing just 22 balls. Caelan Hughes chipping in with 20 runs in the middle order. Curtis Mayfield returned the best figures for the Escapades with 2 for 12 from 3 overs, as the mixed side were left to lament their poor fielding. Several dropped catches costing the important wickets needed, eventually falling 0.12 points short of a berth in the grand final. The Cascade Esperance run chase started slowly but picked up pace through Nigel Bingham, 34 not out off 20 balls, and the returning Matt Harding, who scored 28 off 26 balls. Effective bowling from Luke Rocher, 3 for 9, 4 overs, William Walker, 2 for 6, 4 overs, and Jeremy Curry, 0 for 12, 4 overs, saw the Warriors restrict Cascade Esperance to 7 for 106. The close nature of the T20 competition this season has led to the Warriors meeting the Demons in the grand final at 12:15 p.m, as the Escapades and the Blues will square off in the minor final at 3:15 p.m. And with this article, there are 6 photos, and the main photo is captioned, "Nate Thomas blocks the delivery out." The next photo is of Matthew Robinson, faces a delivery from Neil Liddle. The next photo is of Neil Liddle steams into bowl for the Demons. And the next photo is of Nate Thomas, safely catches the ball, watched on by the Demons, slips cordon. And the second last photo is of Sid Jones' stump, was upended by Luke Rocha, and the last photo is of umpire Liam Baines, is not moved by Luke Rocha's vociferous appeal. And those photos were courtesy of Greg Symes. And the second article on page 18 in Sport is Tholstrup a Demon, and it's written by Jeff Vivian. Newtown Condena product Colton Tholstrup will be packing his bags and heading to Melbourne to play for the Demons. After playing 10 league games for Subi and kicking 7 goals, the 18-year-old has been selected at pick 13 by the Melbourne Football Club in the 2023 AFL National Draft on Monday night. The Demons had a press statement ready by the next day. Tholstrup's powerful frame has allowed the mid-sized forward to play in key position roles up forward and has also pinch hit through the midfield at times, Demons reporter David McPherson said. At 186 centimetres and 86 kgs with a strong mark and penetrating kick, Tholstrup averaged 18.3 disposals, 6 marks, 6 inside 50s and just under 2 tackles per match for Western Australia in the National Carnival. And the photo with this article is captioned, Colton Tholstrup played 10 league games for Subiaco this year, and the photo was courtesy of Subiaco Football Club.
Esperance Weekender, Friday the 24th of November 2023, page 19. Sport. Big win for Blue by a staff reporter, read by Monica. There was significant movement in the SECBL men's pennant standings after the 7th round of matches were played at the Esperance Bowling Club last weekend. A massive 25-shot win by Scott Willis's rink over Buck Rogers' quartet has sent Esperance Blue into the top 3 at the halfway mark of the season. Blue have been the form team of the pennants competition, winning their last 5 matches after dropping the opening 2 rounds. Esperance White gained a point through Kevin Barker's rink, who accounted for Michael Stevens' team 24-15. Scadden 1 sit atop the standings at the halfway mark after easily accounting for Esperance Gold 49-26. Scadden 2 remain in the hunt for a top 3 berth after clearly defeating Condinup 2 45-26. Hopetown Ravensthorpe had their first win of the season at home, beating Condinup 1 47-35 in the Battle of the Cellar Dwellers. The SECBL men's pennants season takes an extended break, with the season set to restart January the 6th. There are some photos provided by Greg Symes. The caption under the first photo reads, Scott Willis from Esperance Blue. The next photo reads, Robert Reeves from Scadden 1, and the caption under the last photo reads, Jason O'Neill from Condinup 2. Also on page 19, Pairs Champions. Ollie Austin and Marilyn Jackson were the winners of the SECBL Ladies Pairs event held at the Scadden Country Club recently. The pair from the Esperance Bowling Club went through the round-robin series undefeated to claim this season's title. There's a photo with this article provided by Greg Symes. The caption underneath reads, Ollie Austin and Marilyn Jackson.
Tune in to Hope FM's RPH radio reading programs on Wednesdays 10 a.m. and 9 p.m, featuring news articles from the
local Esperance Weekender.
That's 10 a.m. and 9 p.m. Wednesdays on 103.9. Proudly supported by the Community Broadcasting Foundation.